Very good morning. Hope you are all fine and doing well. Yes, you all know that you are doing some numerical applications connecting with vectors. As we discussed earlier, next week your objective tests are going to start, where we are going to include this concept of vectors what we have discussed till now during that objective test. The schedule of objective test is not yet finalized, but certainly will start in the next week. Will be sent to you through the app. You see, when you are coming across the questions in the practice paper, make sure that you are reading the question at least 2 times and then writing the data required, what is given. Then try to apply the concept what you have learned properly. This is what you need to do a little bit cool and confident. Of course, I am explaining some of the questions. Still, if you have any doubt regarding the other questions, you can keep question mark. You can keep the question numbers even on one paper. During live interaction, you can raise your doubts. There is always possibility to discuss the things. But let me explain few questions particularly to make you to move ahead with the further questions. Right? Yes. So, at gear up level, we have explained a few questions at a warm up level. And at a gear up level, in the last class, we have discussed a few questions. Now we are going to discuss a few more questions today. Once you see, first of all, 12th question at the gear up level. 12th question. The 12th question is, there are 2 points whose position vectors are r1 bar and r2 bar, where the particles are located. Particles are located in a plane at 2 different points, and their position vectors are r1 bar and r2 bar. What does it mean? Let me explain diagrammatically. Here, this is your coordinate system. This is your plane of xy. Here is the origin. Now, let me suppose there are 2 different points. One is A and another one is B, where my particles are located, and whose position vectors are r1 bar, 1 minute, whose position vectors are r1 bar and r2 bar. I told you the position of any point or particle in the plane can be written in vector form, which is a position vector. Of course, let us suppose this is r1 bar and this is r2 bar. Let us suppose. See here, r1 bar nothing but OA bar, R2 bar nothing but OB bar, which is given in your data. R1 bar equal to 3 I cap plus 5 J cap meters, because position from O to A, that's why in terms of meters. R2 bar is minus 5 I cap plus 3 J cap meters. So these are the position vectors of 2 different particles. Now they started moving with velocities. Initially they are at rest. At t equal to 0, this particle is at rest and this particle also is at rest. But now they started moving with velocity vectors v1 bar and v2 bar, so that they collide after some time. See the diagrammatic representation. One is moving with a velocity vector v1 bar, another one moving with a velocity vector v2 bar. So that they met, they collide at 2 seconds. After some time, at 2 seconds, they are going to collide. Let us suppose they collide at the point P, where the first particle is moving with velocity vector v1 bar, and the second particle is moving with velocity vector v2 bar. Of course, at t equal to 0, it has started, and at t seconds, t equal to 2, at t seconds, they collide. Meanwhile, your first particle will travel through a displacement v1 bar into t. Am I right or not? Because displacement equal to velocity into time. So by the time it is going to collide with the first particle, your second particle will travel through a displacement v2 bar into t. Of course, t equal to 2 seconds, because they start from rest initially and they are going to collide at t seconds while moving with velocities v1 bar and v2 bar. So their displacement vectors v1 bar into t and v2 bar into t. This is what information. If you are going to consider the given data, velocity vector of the first particle v1 bar equal to 4 I cap minus 4 j cap, and velocity vector of the second particle v2 bar equal to a I cap minus 3 j cap. Now at the moment, whenever these two velocity vectors are going to make the particle to collide, then you see the position vector of that meeting point where they collide. For that meeting point position vector, let me suppose r bar. Now let me apply triangle law in that particular situation. If I apply triangle law, r1 bar and v1 bar into t are the two adjacent sides taken in the same order, r1 bar and v1 bar into t, and the third side of the triangle is r bar taken in opposite order. Similarly, if you apply triangle law here, r2 bar plus v2 bar into t are the two adjacent sides of a triangle taken in the same order, then r bar will be the resultant of those two. Means I can write r2 bar plus v2 bar into t is equal to r. So I can equalize these two. So my equation is going to be, hope you are all following. I am equalizing r1 bar plus v1 bar into t equal to r2 bar plus v2 bar into t. If I am going to rewrite this equation, v2 bar minus v1 bar into t equal to r2 bar minus r1 bar. Let me apply magnitude on either sides. Modulus of v2 bar minus v1 bar into t is equal to modulus of r2 bar minus r1 bar. Therefore, t is equal to modulus of r2 bar minus r1 bar by modulus of v2 bar minus v1 bar is the formula for t. This is generalized concept. This is our generalized concept. Then I will substitute my given data. So I conclude. Two particles are located at A and B, whose position vectors are r1 bar and r2 bar. These two particles moving with velocities v1 bar and v2 bar, so that they meet after t seconds. Then the time at which they meet t is equal to modulus of r2 bar minus r1 bar by modulus of v2 bar minus v1 bar. This is the generalized equation, and this is all explanation. But in your question, t is given 2 seconds. Then what to calculate? A, which is in the value of v2 bar, A you have to calculate. For that, this you have to make it equal to 2 seconds, because t equal to 2 seconds here. Then modulus of r2 bar minus r1 bar, r2 bar minus r1 bar, minus 5 minus 3, minus 8 I cap, 3 minus 5, minus 2 j cap, and its magnitude modulus by modulus of v2 bar minus v1 bar, v2 bar minus v1 bar, a minus 4 I cap, minus 3 minus of minus 4 plus, so plus 1 into j cap, and its magnitude is equal to 2. So modulus of 8 minus 8 I cap minus 2 j cap, root of x square plus y square. So it is root of x square, 8 square 64 plus root of 2 square means 4 by here root of a minus 4 whole square plus root of 1 square is equal to 2. Now we need to simplify that. Meanwhile, you note down, I will simplify that question. We need to simplify this so that we will get a value. Note down, I will simplify that. Hope you have written all this explanation and keeping it in pause. I am erasing. I will do the simplification part. I will do this. I will continue this. I will continue this last step. Hope you have written. Okay. So what is further part of calculation here? Root of 64 plus 4 by a minus 4 whole square plus 1 square over square root equal to 2. Squaring on both sides, the numerator becomes 68 by a minus 4 whole square plus 1 denominator equal to 2. Now do cross multiplication. 68 equal to 2 times of a minus 4 whole square plus 2 ones are 2 on doing cross multiplication. 68 minus 2, 66 equal to 2 times of a minus 4 whole square. 66 by 2. 66 by 2 will be how much? Once check the calculation part. 8 8s are 64 and 2 2s are 4, 68. 68 and here it is 2 times of a minus 4 whole square plus 2 ones are 2. 1 minute here on squaring 2 2s are it will be 4. This will be 4 here. So when it is 4 here, then this will be multiplied by 4 times. Here it is 4 ones are 4. So 68 minus 4 means it is 64 and here it is 4. So 64 by 4, 16 equal to a minus 4 whole square. Okay, a 16 can be written as 4 square. Means a minus 4 is equal to 4. So that a is equal to 4 plus 4 which is 8. This is how the further part of calculation involves. This is all about the 12th question. The entire concept lies here. Lies with this figure. A little conceptual question, no doubt. Let us see here, 13th question. The question is, there are different forces acting on a particle simultaneously. Here there is a particle. There is a force of 10 Newton acting on the particle along x-axis. And there is another force of 10 Newton acting on the particle along y-axis. And of course, you can mention the coordinate system here. According to the data, there is a force of 10 root 2 Newton acting on the particle at the same time at an angle 45 degrees in fourth quadrant. And in second quadrant, there is a force of P Newton. There is a force of P Newton is acting at an angle theta with y-axis in second quadrant, but keeping the particle under equilibrium. So I repeat the data. How many forces? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 different forces acting on the particle simultaneously, so that the net force acting on the particle is 0 and keeping the particle under equilibrium. As the particle under equilibrium means the net force acting on the particle is 0. This is possible only the net horizontal force must be 0. The net force in the horizontal direction should be 0 and the net force in vertical direction should be 0. Then automatically your particle will be under equilibrium. But what are horizontal forces? What are vertical forces? Let us study. See, 10 Newton is a horizontal. Here 10 Newton which is vertical. That's all okay, fine. But this 10 root 2 Newton is acting at an angle 45 degrees with horizontal. Then how can I identify it's a horizontal and vertical components? Yes, you need to go with resolution. Here 10 root 2 Newton is acting on the particle at an angle 45 degrees with x-axis. Then here it's a component along x-axis will be 10 root 2 cos of 45 degrees. When this is f at 45, then this is f cos 45 and here it is f sin 45, 10 root 2 sin 45 degrees. At the same time, P is the force acting at an angle theta. Then here its a component will be P cos theta because adjacent component, and the other it is P sin theta. So let me balance all horizontal forces and separately all vertical forces. See, Here 10 plus 10 root 2 cos 45 degrees. This is horizontally right. Should be balanced by P sin theta, which is horizontally left. Of course, cos 45 degrees root 2 gets cancelled. Then 10 plus 10 is equal to P sin theta, which is equal to 20. Keep it aside. Because I don't know P, I don't know theta also. Now come to the vertical components. Here, along the positive y-axis, vertically upwards, 10 plus P cos theta. 10 plus P cos theta must be balanced by 10 sin 45 degrees, which is vertically down. The entire vertical force must be balanced by vertically downward force. The total horizontally right force should be balanced by horizontally left force. That is a balanced condition. All the horizontal forces must be balanced. All the vertical forces must be balanced. Then your particle will experience a zero net force and will be under equilibrium. That's why I have taken the components of the given forces in horizontal and vertical directions, and I am balancing in horizontal direction and also in vertical direction. That's why this is totally vertical upward force balancing vertically downward force. But here P cos theta, interesting point, sin 45 degrees 1 by root 2, 1 minute. This is a 10 root 2 sin 45. 10 root 2 sin 45 because vertically downward force again. 10 root 2 sin 45. Root 2 and sin 45 gets cancelled. 10 is left and this 10 goes to left side, minus 10 equal to 0. Means P cos theta equal to 0 but P not equal to 0. So that cos theta must be equal to 0. That means theta equal to 90 degrees. Because cos 90 degrees is 0. That's why I told you to learn trigonometry. So theta equal to 90 because P cos theta equal to 0 means either P cos theta to be 0, P should be 0 or cos theta should be 0. But P never be equal to 0 according to the data. So cos theta equal to 0. Then theta equal to 90. Substitute here. P into sin theta equal to 20. But theta equal to 90 degrees. Sin 90 degrees 1. So that your P is equal to 20. So this is how the things can be solved. P equal to 20 Newton and theta equal to 90 degrees. This is all about the 13th question. Also not done. Here I give you a clue on 4th question. You try to simplify that. I don't explain the entire solution because you will be habituated to copy the solutions. So let me give you a clue regarding 4th question at a gear up level. At a gear up level it's a 4th question. There are two forces. In the 4th question there are two forces, F1 and F2. Here the square of their resultant. The square of the resultant. The resultant means F1 bar plus F2 bar. The square of their resultant. So modulus of F1 bar plus F2 bar whole square. The square of the resultant exceeds by 12. Exceeds by 12. By whom it exceeds? Exceeds by 12 when those are perpendicular. If these two forces are perpendicular, the resultant is root of F1 square plus F2 square. When these two forces are perpendicular, the resultant is root of F1 square plus F2 square. Square of the resultant when they are perpendicular. This is square of the resultant when they are at an angle theta, unknown. This is the square of the resultant when they are at 90 degrees, when they are perpendicular. The question is, the square of the resultant exceeds by 12 to the square of their resultant when they are perpendicular. Then find the angle between the two forces. Theta you have to find. This is it. The square of their resultant exceeds by 12 to the square of their resultant when they are perpendicular. Then calculate the angle between the two forces. So here you can apply f1 square plus f2 square plus 2f1 f2 cos theta. Here it is f1 square plus f2 square because square over root will cancel plus 12. Then if you are simplifying, you will come across theta value, where theta is angle between the two forces f1 and f2. This is the fourth question. This terminology you should understand clearly. Square of their resultant exceeds 12 to the square of their resultant when they were mutually perpendicular. That's an important statement that you need to consider to come across the solution. So this is 13th question and 4th question at the gear up level. Still, one more question I wish to discuss here at gear up level. It's all about 8th question we do discuss once you note down. Discuss 8th question at gear up level. So 8th question it is, a person going through a distance of 50 meters along a straight path and taking a left turn. To what distance he is traveling? 50 meters along the straight path and then taking a left turn. See, for example, here a person has started at the point A, has traveled along the straight path for 50 meters. Then from this point he is going to take a left turn through an angle of 60 degrees. So this is the actual path, but taking a left turn through what angle? 60 degrees. Instead of going straight, he has taken a turn through 60 degrees, turn through 60, and then travelled for 50 meters again, and has reached a point. But instead of going straight further, he has taken again a left turn through 60 degrees again. Left turn through 60 degrees again. So here it is again 60 degrees. Left turn. And again travelled for 50 meters. In this way. And reached the point. And then instead of going straight, again he has taken a left turn and travelled for 50 meters again. Through 60 degrees he has taken a turn, left turn, and again has travelled for 50 meters. Like this, for every 50 meters, he is going to take a left turn through 60 degrees and travelling for 50 meters and taking a left turn through 60 degrees. If that is the case, on taking the continuous turns, then his path will come across a regular hexagon, because in a regular hexagon, the each and every exterior angle will be 60 degrees. That's what. But the interesting point here, the initial point is A. At B, he has taken first turn. At C, he has taken second turn. At D, he is going to take third turn. At E, he is going to take fourth turn. And at F, he is going to take the fifth turn. At A, he is going to take sixth turn. At B, he is going to take seventh turn. At C, he is going to take eighth turn. And at D, he is going to take ninth turn. Why I was stopped there, you know? The question is, when a person traveling along a straight path, for every 50 meters taking a left turn through 60 degrees, then calculate the displacement of the person just after ninth turn. After taking ninth turn, what is his displacement? So here A to B, at B has taken first turn. Once he has taken a turn, he will travel through 50 meters. Like that, at B, he will take ninth turn. At D, ninth turn he will take. Once he has taken ninth turn, he will come to E. Of course, not going for 10th turn. We are discussing displacement after ninth turn. Once ninth turn is taken, he will travel through 50 meters. So this will be the final location after ninth turn. This is initial position. Then this will be the displacement. This is our required answer, which is the shortest distance from initial position to final position. So let us take the geometry of that particular portion. We need to calculate this displacement, which is A to E, we have to calculate. Here it is F, of course. Now take this here angular bisector, here in this is, here it is perpendicular. Now here, the point that you need to consider here it is, this is 50 meter, this is also 50 meters. Are you following? And here, this is common side. This is a common side, both are right angle triangles. So if this is X, here this will be also X. And here it is 120 degrees, interior angle 120. So this will be 60 degrees and this will be 60 degrees. That's it. So in this particular right angle triangle, I can talk about sine 60 degrees equal to opposite side X. Sine 60 degrees opposite side X by hypotenuse 50, which is equal to root 3 by 2. Sine 60 degrees root 3 by 2. So X equal to root 3 by 2 into 50, which is equal to 25 root 3 meters. X value. X value 25 root 3 meters. But the required displacement of the particle is from A to E, which is equal to X plus X 2X. So 2 times of X means it will be 50 root 3 meters. So when the person traveling along the straight path and taking a left turn through 60 degrees for every 50 meters, then his displacement after 9th turn, the displacement is 50 root 3 meters. To know this, you should apply a little geometry here. This part of the figure should be taken and a little more geometry to be applied to calculate the displacement of the particle after 9th turn. See, some people will say AD is the displacement. No. After taking the 9th turn, he is the displacement. So 9th turn taken means he has to travel through 50 and has to reach. So AE is the displacement that we have taken. So this is the final answer for question number 8. So like this, there are many more questions at a warm-up level and gear up level based on addition, subtraction, resolution and position vector concept. All the different questions I have explained. The similar model questions are there still in your worksheet. At a warm-up level and gear up level only you concentrate for these 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. Still you are left with 2 more days, Saturday and Sunday, where you can work out on these remaining questions which are left in the worksheet, so that you can attend very well with the objective test that is going to be conducted in the next week. Hope you do at a level best and taking care of you. Thank you.